Hello everyone, what is happening? I'm your host Ayman Hassan and welcome back to another video here at Most Amazing Top 10. Now, I believe that there are two types of people in this world. People like me who would never summon a demon even if their life depended on it, and people who summon demons just because. And today's list is filled with the latter type of people. So enough of my rambling. The most important thing, subscribe to this channel and subscribe to Top 10 Hindi videos because why not? Top 10 content in another language, with subtitles, with me. What's not to like? My spiel ends there, but really it's just the beginning. This is the top 10 teens who summoned a scary demon. Starting us off with number 10 is Ronald Doe. Obviously not his real name, but many of you might recognize his story because it was the basis of the Exorcist book and movie. Now, Ronald grew up in the 40s as an only child and was very close to his aunt, who was a spiritualist and was actually the person who taught him how to use a Ouija board. So you have that crazy cool aunt, and now we have the impending doom demon aunt. Great, how times are evolving. Sometime later, when he was 14 years old, his aunt died and Ronald was devastated, but he came up with the idea of contacting her via Ouija board. Contact his aunt he did not, but contact another screwed up demon he definitely did. Soon after, weird things started happening. Water dripping out of the walls, scratching sounds from all over the house, his mattress seemingly flipping over by itself, and normal things like potted plants levitating when he was near them. The family called their priest, and the priest saw it with his own eyes. Ronald underwent numerous exorcisms. One incident took place at a hospital. He got his hand free from the restraint, pulled the bed spring from under the mattress, and used it to slice the priest's arm. Other priests saw him speaking in weird tongues, his bed shaking, and Ronald unable to bear any sacred objects whatsoever. During his last exorcism, 3 priests were present, and they all say the words hell and evil, and other marks appeared on his body, and he even broke one of the priest's noses. But after the fact, he ended up pretty normal, after all that. Coming at number 9 is Elizabeth Knapp. Let's go way back to the 1670s. 16-year-old Elizabeth was a servant in the house of Reverend Samuel Willard. Living in an extremely strict Christian Puritan society, Elizabeth confessed a lot later in her life to having met and made a deal with the devil for 3 years as a sort of rebellion, and how badly that deal ended up. Word of advice, guys, never make a deal with the devil. It's just not a good idea. Knapp started showing signs of possession, like having pains throughout her body and feeling like she was being strangled even though no one was touching her. She used to laugh herself into hysterics. She also started to hallucinate, and she would talk in a deep voice and make animal noises. At one point, she saw a man floating around her bed and 2 people walking around her when no one was there. Her fits became more violent whenever the Reverend was present. She also used to convulse on the ground and tried throwing herself into a fire. During one particularly bad bout, 4 people actually had to hold her down to the ground. She claimed the devil wanted her to kill herself and the family she worked for, but she just couldn't bring herself to do it. Her worst period was when she had a fit for 2 straight days and went into a catatonic state afterwards. She claimed the devil had taken over her and that she had no control over her speech or what she was saying. The best part is the Reverend actually kept a journal writing down everything he was witnessing, which is rich because I would just straight up have fired her. Can't have the devil around me and my kids, I'm sorry. At number 8 now, we have Zelda. No, this one has nothing to do with the game, don't get excited. The story is from a Reddit user called Pipe Bomb Dreams, who used a Ouija board to summon and speak to a demon or spirit. They kept getting in contact with a thing named Zelda, who never said much other than spelling her name over and over again. But after summoning her, bizarre things started happening around their house. Their radio would randomly switch to static, they'd hear knocking on the walls, footsteps on the stairs, and they even found a contact on their phone named Z, but it had their own phone number saved as the contact. They clicked on the contact to find a pending drafted message that simply had the letter A, and the autocorrect option suggested for A was Zelda. Wow, demons are getting advanced, they can also operate phones now. It wasn't a bad demon per se, but it never let the person summon anyone else ever. The user stopped using the board and the occurrences eventually stopped as well. That's probably the most docile demon or spirit if I ever saw one, and probably the most docile one on this list. Filling in our number 7 slot is Clara Germana Selle. Selle was a baptized orphan of South African descent, and way back in 1906 she was a student at St. Michael's Mission. At the young age of 16, she reportedly made a pact with Satan, because at 16 you're either studying for exams or making pacts contacts with Satan, evidently. And I don't think any demon can be scarier than Satan himself. After this, Clara started gaining weird powers, so to speak. She was able to speak languages she had no prior knowledge of, like French, German, and Polish, and she also became clairvoyant, exposing secrets and sins of people she'd had absolutely zero contact with. She also became endowed with superhuman strength and used to throw nuns around the convent and beat them up. Being in the presence of blessed objects was torturous for her, and she was just unable to bear it. Her screeches were described by the nuns, and I quote, "No animal had ever made such sounds. It sounded like a veritable herd of wild beasts, orchestrated by Satan, had formed a hellish choir." That is a direct quote, my friends. Other people say she could also levitate horizontally and vertically. A priest exercised her for 2 days before she hit his Bible out of his hand and tried to choke him with his own scarf. Oh, Clara. Clara, what did you do? Now at number 6 is Ithaca College. This story was shared by Reddit user Hypertrophic Mass Eater, and he recalls a story his friend told him. During the friend's college years, at about 18 or 19 years old, him and 3 other friends were in a part of campus that had a lot of old Gothic looking architecture. Already not starting off too great, let me just preface that right there. They entered one building and found one wall to be covered with a 40 feet long corkboard, and it happened to be a lot darker than the rest of the building. He stared at the board and felt colder than he ever had in his entire life, and then he suddenly became unable to breathe. Thinking he was about to die, he somehow mustered up some strength from deep within him and managed to snap out of it, and he hit his friend, who seemed to be in the same trance-like state he was in. But his friend was ice cold. When they finally ran off to find their other friends said that the boys had been staring at the wall for 20 straight minutes, not saying a word, not the 1 minute that the boys thought had passed. What ties this all together is the fact that there's a cliff nearby the college where a lot of students have committed suicide, not to mention the countless summoning stories originating from the college. The corkboard was actually filled to the brim with articles and flyers of student obituaries and missing students. It's unclear whether it's the pressure of school that drove people to kill themselves or a demonic presence on campus. The latter sounds likely in the case of the 2 boys who probably experienced 20 minutes of possession. Could they have possibly ended up at the cliff if it lasted longer? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Coming at number 5 is the Charlie Challenge. Now, unless you've been living under a rock or have just been born, then you've probably heard of the Charlie Challenge that was popularized on social media way back in 2015. I say way back, but that was only 4 years ago. It's a remake of the Spanish game Juego de la Capicera. You put 2 pencils on top of each other to make a cross, and in the 4 quarters it makes on the page you write no, yes, no, yes. And then you ask it questions sort of like a Ouija board minus the spirits. However, kids started playing with it and addressing a spirit or demon named Charlie, and that's when things got a bit messed up. By May of that year, 4 high school students in Colombia had been hospitalized because they started babbling and screaming after playing the game. In the same month, various other schools in different countries across the Caribbean reported symptoms like fainting, trance states, and confusion after students had played the game. It got so bad to the point in June, several students were apparently possessed by the devil at the Juan Pablo Duarte Primary School in the Dominican Republic. Wow, who knew social media was that toxic? Actually, everyone. At number 4 is Billy and Claire. This is another story from Reddit shared by the user Strange Throwaway 1023. Now this user summoned a demon, or at least prayed to one, in exchange for revenge. The user wanted to hurt someone who they aptly named Billy. Every night for a few weeks they would pray and try to summon a demon, hoping one would hear them and then grant a favor. The favor was for Billy to fall into a hole and break his leg. Bit morbid. Well, the user claimed that it offered the demon a favor of any kind that was within their capability that they could cash in at any time. About a month or so later, Billy fell into a hole and broke his leg. Now just to preface this, the names the user offered obviously aren't the people's real names, and the punishments are also not the exact punishments the user asked for, but this sort of gives you an idea of what the user did and went through. 3 years later, the user wanted a different sort of revenge for someone called Claire, and a month later that exact thing happened. The user claims the demon is yet to cash in either of the favors, but is sort of hoping God will help them get out of the situation. I mean, I have no sympathy for you, Strange Throwaway 1023. You made your bed, now lie in it. Filling our number 3 slot is Anna Eklund, or we can call her by her real name, Emma Schmidt. Now just to preface this one, this case is cited as the longest, most extensive case of demonic possession in history. So let's have it. Born in 1882, Emma was a normal child, but during her early teens she started exhibiting signs of possession. It was said that it was because of her aunt Mina, who was a witch. Mina was said to have placed summoning spells on on herbs she'd put in Eklund's food. Emma started being averse to holy objects and could no longer even enter a church. She underwent her first exorcism in 1912. It was quite painless, and her next one wasn't until 1928. This exorcism started on the 17th of August and ended all the way in December. She hissed, she threw fits when she got food that was sprinkled with holy water, she started levitating, hanging from the frame of the doorway, and even howling. The exorcism took a major toll on her body since she stopped eating food and started vomiting what appeared to be tobacco leaves and other foreign herbs. She started speaking in multiple languages and her head even swelled up. They concluded she was possessed by a bunch of entities. For one, Judas Iscariot, one of Jesus' disciples, her aunt Mina, who appeared when Emma spoke in a high voice, and finally her father Jacob, who cursed her with Mina because she refused his sexual advances when she was small. This hurts my heart. This girl has been through so much. After her final exorcism, where she started screaming Beelzebub, Judas, Jacob, Mina, and hell, she was reportedly fine and only went through minor possessions after that. Her aunt really screwed her up. Now at number 2 is Estefania Lazaro, and this one is 100% true, and it inspired the Netflix movie Veronica. While she was in school, her parents said she started developing an interest in the occult, and after one of her friends' boyfriends died in a car crash, she staged a seance with her friends at school to try and contact him. The ritual was stopped halfway by a teacher, but everyone reported seeing smoke go up through Estefania's nose and mouth. During the next 6 months, she started having hallucinations and seizures and would go into a rage and tell her parents she saw evil shadows walking past her room, or she would literally bark at her brothers. Doctors found nothing wrong with her, but a few months later they found her dead in her bedroom with no explanation whatsoever. Mind blown. Her parents suspected it had something to do with the Ouija board incident, and weird things started happening around the house after she died. I feel like every story on this list is like, and then weird things started happening in the house. Like they would hear whispers, appliances would switch on and off, and doors would just slam out of nowhere. I haven't seen the movie, but now I oddly want to. And finally, at number 1 is the Ammons family. Not to be confused with the Addams family, but I could see how you'd get that. Now back in 2011, Latoya Ammons moved into a new house with her mother Rosa Campbell and her 3 children. A few days later, after they moved in, a crazy amount of flies started swarming their porch and would not leave or die. Now the events that took place after this have led people to believe her children, aged 12, 9, and 7, were up late one night playing around online and may have summoned a demon, not believing anything would even happen. Kids, rookie mistake. Campbell started hearing doors creaking and opening and footsteps in their basement when no one was down there. She even saw a man pacing in her living room and found a literal boot print. If that's not hard evidence, I don't know what is. Her daughter's friend claimed her daughter was levitating above the bed at a sleepover, yet she had no recollection of the incident ever taking place. Her middle son was thrown across the room, and her youngest son's eyes rolled to the back of his head as he started saying the words, "I will kill you and it's time to die." A few months later, the Department of Child Services visited the house and they saw her youngest son walk up the wall backwards. That's personnel saying this, not even the family themselves. That's how you know it's real and not just lies. People claim it was the demon Beelzebub that was summoned, who's otherwise known as the Lord of the Flies. They hired a priest to perform not 1, not 2, but 3 exorcisms, and the family was demon-free after that. And they lived happily ever after. And that's all for today's video, guys. I hope you enjoyed reading these at night alone. I can't say I did, but hey, anything for the tube, am I right? Let me know in the comments below about which summoning and possession story is the freakiest to you. The scariest one for me is probably Emma Schmidt or Ronald Doe. I mean, he literally attacked the priest with a bed spring. Savage. Anyway guys, I'm your host Ayman Hassan, and I will most definitely catch you on the next one. Bye!